The studio lights on The View were always warm, but that morning they felt hot. Joy Behar adjusted her notes, lips pursed, eyes scanning the audience like a lioness waiting for the perfect moment. Across the table, her co-hosts were chatting about celebrity gossip and political spin. But Joy had something else in mind, something bigger, something explosive. In her hands was a single piece of paper, printed, folded, refolded, highlighted. She hadn't even shared it with the producers. She wanted the moment to land live, raw, unfiltered, unstoppable. The kind of thing that breaks the internet before the commercial break even airs. I'm just saying ... Joy began, her voice playful but sharp. If this is real, and I'm not saying it is, but if it is. She unfolded the paper like it was a winning lottery ticket. The camera zoomed in just as she held it up to the light. Then it shows you who Denzel Washington really is. The audience sucked in their breath. Someone in the back whispered, "No way." The camera panned to the co-hosts. Awkward silence. A smirk crept across Sonny's lips. Whoopi raised an eyebrow. Sarah looked down at her coffee. The screen behind them flashed the headline from an anonymous X account. Barely 200 followers. Leaked email from Denzel Washington. We need to control how much truth gets out. Below it, a blurry screenshot of an email, vague and suspicious, with just enough ambiguity to fuel a firestorm. Within minutes, clips of the moment hit social media. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag Denzelgate was trending by lunchtime. News anchors debated it like it was the Constitution. Reaction channels went live. Twitter was a war zone. In his quiet office overlooking Los Angeles, Denzel sat still. His phone vibrated nonstop. Messages from agents, journalists, friends, enemies. Everyone wanted a statement. But Denzel didn't move. He stared at a paused frame on his television. It showed Joy Behar holding the email mirror, frozen grin. The Chiron read, "Denzel accused of truth manipulation." Beneath that, a banner. "Hollywood hero or media puppeteer?" The door burst open. Marcus, his longtime advisor, stormed in. "They're running with it," he said, tossing down a folder. "Every network, every blogger, even some of our friends. They're calling you a shadow agent, a truth suppressor." Denzel still didn't speak. Marcus's voice cracked. "You need to deny it. Say it's fake. We'll call it a deep fake. A smear, anything." But Denzel turned slowly, his face unreadable. "Have you read the email?" he asked. Marcus blinked. "Of course not. It's fake." "No," Denzel said. "I wrote it." Marcus's world tilted. "You, what?" Denzel nodded once. Slow, heavy. "It's real, but not what they think." The silence that followed was thicker than concrete. Marcus sat down, stunned. "Then we're finished." "No," Denzel whispered, finally looking up. "We're just getting started." 2 weeks earlier, Denzel stood inside a small, windowless conference room beneath the Capitol. The walls were lined with soundproof panels, no cameras, no phones, no press. He wasn't there as a movie star. He wasn't there as a philanthropist. He was there as a citizen. A man who'd seen too much, heard too much, who had questions that no one in Washington wanted to answer. "Mr. Washington," said Senator Callow, glancing at the others, "your statements suggest there are coordinated efforts between media outlets and political operatives to steer public perception. Are you accusing this government of suppressing the truth?" Denzel's jaw clenched. "I'm not accusing. I'm observing. There's a difference." Callow leaned back, his smile tight. "And this email you wrote, we need to control how much truth gets out. What exactly did you mean?" Denzel looked him dead in the eye. "I meant the truth is like fire. If you throw it into a room full of gasoline, people burn. Panic spreads. Lives collapse. Sometimes we don't need all the truth at once. We need it carefully, intentionally, responsibly." The room was quiet. Dangerously quiet. Senator Durham scribbled notes. Another senator coughed. Someone shifted uncomfortably. You're not a politician, Callow said. You're an actor. That doesn't make me blind. Denzel replied. Back to the present. Joy Behar's words echoed across every screen in America. Who he really is. But no one, not even her, knew what was coming next, because Denzel wasn't just going to issue a press release. He wasn't going to deny it. He wasn't going to apologize. He was going to sit down, live on national television, and read the email out loud, every word, because the truth had been taken out of context, and now he was going to give it context so brutally clear, so emotionally raw, that it would change everything. Later that night inside ABC Studios, a rare moment unfolded. Every producer was tense. Security had been doubled. Joy sat at the end of the table, her usual confidence just slightly shaken. RATINGs were off the charts. America was watching. A stage assistant whispered in her ear, "He's here." Denzel entered in silence. No entourage, no sunglasses. Just him, wearing a plain gray suit, his face calm but firm. He walked past the cameras, the assistants, the tension, and sat directly across from Joy. "Welcome," she said with a nervous chuckle. "I suppose we're going to talk about the email." "No," Denzel said. "I'm going to read it." The studio fell still. He reached into his jacket and pulled out the original paper. Not a screenshot, not a blurry JPEG. "The actual email, may I?" he asked. Joy nodded, the color draining from her face. And with that, Denzel unfolded it, slowly, and began to read. His voice was steady, powerful. The kind of voice that carried both the weight of truth and the heartbreak of betrayal. "We need to control how much truth gets out," he read, "because people are not ready for what's coming. The whole truth, all at once, will break them. But if we guide it, not hide it, maybe we can get to the other side without losing each other." Gasps, murmurs. People in the control room stood up. Denzel looked up. "That's the full sentence, not the half they leaked." Joy tried to interrupt, but he raised his hand calmly. "And you didn't just share it," he said. "You weaponized it." The screen behind them flicked to black. No headlines, no banners, just silence. He turned a warning into a weapon. Denzel said, "And you didn't even ask me why I wrote it." The audience, for the first time in show history, clapped. Quietly, slowly, with meaning. The moment Denzel finished reading the full email, there was a stillness in the studio that no sound could break. Even the buzzing of the lights felt muted. For a few long seconds, no one on the set of The View knew what to say. Joy's fingers fidgeted near her cue cards. Her smile, once fixed and polished, had started to crack. "You took a sentence," Denzel said, voice low, "and twisted it into something dangerous." Joy finally spoke. "People had a right to know. They had a right to the truth." Denzel replied, "Not your version of it." There it was, the moral knife edge. America was watching, live, no edits, no spin. Just raw honesty and a deep tension that crackled through every screen from New York to Nevada. By the next morning, the clip had over 30 million views. But while millions of ordinary Americans applauded Denzel's calm confrontation and truth-telling, something darker began brewing behind the scenes in corporate boardrooms, media towers, and political offices. Places where narratives were sculpted like statues and inconvenient truths were quietly erased. Because Denzel had done something rare and dangerous. He had told the whole story, and that made him a problem. Inside, a closed-door meeting at media. Central headquarters, New York. CEOs of 3 major news networks sat around a long marble table. Sleek screens behind them played silent replays of Denzel's segment. Each angle, each word, each beat of silence. None of them were smiling. "He hijacked the narrative," said Thompson from BNT News. "Made Joy look like a bully in himself. Look like a saint. Because he is, muttered one executive. But no one laughed. This is bigger than one talk show, said Marla from Global One. He's painting us as liars, manipulators. If we don't do something, others will follow. He's too clean, too respected, too smart. So what are you suggesting? Asked Thompson. Marla leaned forward. We flood the cycle. Stories, segments, questions raised, guest experts. We dilute the clip with noise. Make it impossible to know what's real. That same afternoon, headlines changed their tune. Denzel deflects responsibility with emotional performance. Email raises more questions than answers. Truth versus perception. Is Denzel manipulating sympathy? Suddenly, it wasn't about Joy Behar's ambush. It was about Denzel's emotional overreaction. Social media algorithms quietly shifted. Videos of the segment were shadowed. Suggestions redirected users to reaction panels and sponsored breakdowns. Clips of Joy's original reveal were clipped to appear more calm, more innocent, more justified. Inside his home office, Denzel watched it all unfold. He wasn't surprised. He was warned long ago that speaking the truth would make enemies, but he didn't expect them to come so fast. So unified. His advisor, Marcus, paced behind him, restless. They've turned it. They've reframed the whole thing. If you don't do something now, they'll bury your message under a mountain of noise. They already have, Denzel said quietly, but I won't fight them on their turf. Marcus frowned. Then what are you going to do? Denzel turned, his eyes sharp. We don't need their studios. We'll take this to the people, unfiltered, straight to camera. Marcus blinked. You want to go rogue? No, Denzel replied. I want to go real. Days later, the video drops. No promo, no PR firm, no clickbait. Just a video titled, Let's Talk About the Email. Uploaded on Denzel's personal channel. No cuts, no edits, no music, just him, sitting on a plain stool in a bare room. This won't be polished, he said, looking into the lens. It won't be trending. It won't be approved by any network. He held the email again, and he read it again. But this time, he explained every word. He spoke about the congressional hearings he had attended, the briefings he had sat in, a cultural consultant, the documents he had seen that never made it to the public. He spoke of fear, not of losing power, but of breaking the spirit of a country not ready for all of its ugly truths at once. He spoke of responsibility, the burden of knowing more than you can safely say. Didn't name names, but he did name values. Truth, context, timing, clarity, and the difference between caution and censorship. By the end, his voice shook, not with fear, but with conviction. If you want to hate me for that, he said, fine. But hate me for the truth, not for what someone twisted it into. The video exploded. Over 60 million views in 3 days. Not just in America. Worldwide. It was translated into 10 languages by volunteers. Reaction videos poured in from teachers, journalists, parents, veterans. But not everyone was cheering. In Washington, the Congressional Ethics Committee reopened an investigation into Denzel's testimony, questioning his presence in classified briefings. Senators debated whether he had overstepped. Legal analysts called it unprecedented, and behind closed doors, a new kind of plan was forming. At a high-level government meeting, Senator Callow watched Denzel's video from a tablet in his lap. He's dangerous, he said flatly. Not because he lied, but because he didn't. The room nodded. Double quotes if he keeps talking, Callow continued. He's going to unravel more than just media narratives. He's going to unravel us. Someone leaned in. What do we do? Callow's voice was ice. We silence him, legally. Back to Denzel's home, Marcus barged in, holding a letter. You've been subpoenaed. Denzel took it without blinking. Congress wants you to testify, again, Marcus said. This time under full oath. They want you to answer for everything. Denzel looked up slowly. Then I'll tell them everything. Marcus froze. You don't understand. They're not calling you in to hear the truth. They're calling you in to crush you in front of the world. Denzel's reply was quiet, steady, then let the world watch. The United States Capitol looked quiet from the outside, as if wrapped in marble silence. But behind its grand facade, tension buzzed like a broken wire. The hearing room had no cameras, no audience. Only thick walls, a long mahogany table, and 14 members of Congress, each with their own agenda tucked beneath their suits. In the center, under harsh overhead lights, sat Denzel Washington. No entourage, no legal army, just him. In a plain suit and a calm expression that made everyone more nervous than if he had shouted. The committee chair, Senator Callow, cleared his throat. Mr. Washington, do you understand that you are testifying under oath today? I do, Denzel replied. Good, Callow said, sliding his glasses down. Then let's begin. On the table between them was a stack of folders. One for each senator, identical. Labeled, Classified Briefing Summary, Washington Involvement. Stamped in red, Restricted. But the real evidence wasn't in the folders. It was in the story no one wanted to hear. The parts of the email that still hadn't been read aloud. The context that no media outlet dared touch 1 week earlier. A secret meeting in Santa Monica. Denzel had met a man known only as Harrison. Once a policy analyst, now disillusioned, burned out, but still holding receipts. He had emailed Denzel in code, told him to meet at a church basement near the beach. Harrison had brought a thin laptop, loaded with files. Audio clips, transcripts. Internal government communications with phrases like public sentiment conditioning and media narrative calibration. I thought I could fix it from the inside, Harrison said, shaking. But it's bigger than politics. They're controlling what people are allowed to think is real. Denzel had listened. He hadn't taken the laptop. He'd taken a notebook, and he had written. Not facts, stories. Because people didn't listen to facts anymore. They listened to feelings. And that terrified the powerful. Back in the hearing room, Senator Callow adjusted his mic. Let's start with this quote from your email. We must guide the truth through calm corridors, not pour it like gasoline into a burning street. What did you mean by that? Denzel leaned forward, his voice steady. I meant there are truths so large, so ugly, that if dropped all at once, they cause chaos instead of clarity. My words weren't about hiding truth. They were about preparing people for it. So you admit to shaping narratives? No, Denzel said. I admit to choosing how to deliver truth with care. There's a difference between a scalpel and a hammer, Callow scowled. Are you aware that some of your statements have been used by conspiracy theorists to fuel anti-government rhetoric? I can't control what people do with truth once they hear it, Denzel replied. But I can control whether they ever hear it at all. Outside the room, news trucks lined the block. No cameras were allowed inside, but leaks had already started. One aide sent a transcript to a podcast host. A staffer from the minority party live tweeted coded updates. Someone leaked a clip of Denzel walking in, head high, eyes forward. Online. The world was watching in fragments. But that was enough. Because sometimes, truth doesn't need a megaphone. Just a crack in the wall. Hours into the testimony, Senator Blake, a rare voice of reason, spoke up. Mr. Washington, in your opinion, who decides when the public is ready for truth? Denzel paused. It was the question he had feared. I don't know, he said, voice softer now. Maybe no one should. Maybe the problem is that truth has become a weapon, and everyone's too busy aiming it to understand it. The room quieted. Even Callow looked momentarily thoughtful, but the moment passed fast, because truth, when not controlled, becomes dangerous. And dangerous truth needs to be discredited. Outside. Breaking news. Joy Behar appeared on a rival network. sitting comfortably in a bright red dress. "I don't know what Denzel's doing," she said, laughing lightly. "But leaking private briefings, accusing the system? This isn't about truth, it's about ego," the anchor nodded along. "Some are saying he's trying to pivot his career. Stay relevant," Joy shrugged. "Maybe he should stick to movies. He was better when he stayed in the script." Meanwhile, in a basement newsroom in Chicago, a young journalist named Layla pressed publish on a story she had been chasing. For months. The headline read, "Exclusive. Evidence confirms media blackout on classified. Briefings involving Hollywood figures," and beneath it, screenshots. Actual transcripts. Real names, real dates. Story went live at 2:17 p.m. By 2:22, it was being reshared by thousands. And by 2:30, it was trending. Back at the hearing, chaos erupts. A congressional aide burst into the room, whispering into Callow's ear. The senator's face changed instantly. From smug confidence to pale calculation. He slammed his folder shut. "This hearing is adjourned," he barked. "We're not finished," Denzel said calmly. "We are now." Callow snapped, but it was too late. The leak was out. The story was alive, and no amount of spin could put it back into silence. After the hearing, walking alone, Denzel stepped into the evening light. Cameras clicked. Reporters shouted. But he didn't answer them. He just kept walking. Marcus waited by the car, waving frantically. "Get in, we need to move. You're being painted as a whistleblower now, and not in a good way." But Denzel didn't move. His eyes scanned the crowd, not the press, not the protesters. Just one face. Laila, the young journalist. She stood in the back, quiet, holding her phone. No microphone, no badge. Just purpose. Denzel nodded at her once. She understood that the fight wasn't over. It had just moved into a new battlefield, the court of public opinion, and that court never adjourns. The night after the hearing, something strange happened. Networks stopped showing Denzel's face. It wasn't declared. There was no memo, no official ban. But across every major outlet, his image vanished. His quotes were paraphrased or omitted. His face was blurred out in montages. Instead of broadcasting what happened in the hearing room, networks chose to rerun clips of Joy Behar claiming victimhood. Her voice filled screens from coast to coast. "I never meant to hurt anyone," she said, tearing up slightly. "I just thought people had a right to know what was in that email. If it backfired, I guess I was wrong, but I wasn't malicious." And just like that, she was the misunderstood woman, the emotional anchor, the one who had been attacked by a Hollywood star for asking a harmless question. It worked for a while. In a Los Angeles studio lobby, Denzel was supposed to appear on a late-night talk show, something lighter, a chance to speak without pressure. The host, a longtime admirer, had reached out personally. But when he arrived, the receptionist glanced at her screen, paused, and whispered into a headset. A few minutes later, the producer came down. "He didn't make eye contact, Mr. Washington. We're, rescheduling tonight's taping. Some last-minute changes, we'll reach out." Denzel didn't need to hear more. He had been in Hollywood long enough to know what wasn't being said. The host never called. The message was clear: stay quiet, or stay invisible. Meanwhile, the digital world was on fire. Layla's article kept climbing. Independent podcasts dissected every line of Denzel's testimony. Memes spread. Hashtags like #they tried to silence him and #read the whole email exploded. Young creators made TikToks reenacting the moment he confronted Joy on live TV. But what caught everyone off guard was who came to his defense next. Not another actor. Not a senator, but a janitor named Calvin Harris from Cleveland. He posted a 58-second video recorded from his phone. Standing in his work uniform. "I ain't famous," Calvin said. "I clean floors in a hospital. But I watched that whole video. I read that article, and what I saw wasn't a man trying to lie. I saw a man trying to tell the truth in a way folks could handle. He paused, eyes heavy. Don't let them make you feel crazy for wanting the truth. And don't let them make him disappear. His video was raw.unpolished. But it went viral overnight. Shared by teachers, veterans, nurses, teenagers. And finally, by someone Denzel never expected. An Instagram post by Viola Devisa, black and white photo of Denzel. Caption: some truths are too strong to stay hidden. I stand with you, brother. Then came Oprah. Then came Jordan Peele. Then came journalists from overseas. Some from countries that understood too well what happens when the truth is labeled dangerous. And Hollywood? Hollywood split in half. Behind the gates of a Beverly Hills estatia, closed-door meeting of elite producers, agents, and studio execs was held. Someone called it damage control. Others called it prevention. We can't afford this, said one studio head. We've built careers off being close to him. If he turns controversial, we lose credibility. So what do you suggest? Someone else asked. Distance. The reply came coldly. Deny offers. Pull endorsements. Quietly move on. Meanwhile, smaller indie filmmakers saw something different. They saw courage and a chance. An email to Denzel from a first-time director. You don't know me, but your video saved my life. My film is about truth and silence. They told me no one would watch it. But if you believe in voices that scare people, maybe you'll believe in mine too. Attached, a script. Simple title: Resonance. Back at Denzel's house, Marcus walked in holding a fresh report. They're trying to paint you as unstable now, he said. Talk shows are saying you're spiraling. Studio insiders are whispering about paranoia. Denzel rubbed his forehead. And Joy? He asked. Marcus turned on the TV. A promo played. Exclusive. Joy Behar speaks out again. The follow-up everyone's been waiting for. The network knew exactly what they were doing. Frame the woman as the wounded. Frame the man as the menace. And maybe, just maybe, people would forget the truth he tried to tell. But truth has a strange habit: it doesn't die quietly. A week later, an awards show in New York. Denzel wasn't invited. His name wasn't mentioned. Halfway through the ceremony, the host, an unexpected ally, took the stage with a note in hand. He looked out at the crowd, then at the cameras, and said, "Before we move on, I want to read something. It's not from a script, not from a teleprompter, but from a man who once stood on this stage and reminded us that truth, when told with heart, changes more than headlines. It changes history." And then he read Denzel's full email, the original. Uncut. No edits. The crowd was silent. Then a single person stood and clapped. Then another. Then dozens. Not everyone, but enough to make a sound. After the broadcast phones buzzed, newsrooms scrambled. Producers panicked. And Joy? She watched from her green room. Eyes wide, hand shaking, because she had spent weeks framing a man as dangerous. But the world was starting to see something else. A man with scars. Yes, but also with strength. And most dangerously of all, a man they couldn't silence. The rain hit Washington like a judgment. Cold, steady, unrelenting. Inside a private office on the edge of Georgetown, Denzel sat across from Layla, the young journalist whose reporting had already shaken every major network. Between them was a sealed envelope, thick, aged, the kind of envelope that carried weight far heavier than paper. "Where did you get this?" Denzel asked quietly. Laila hesitated. "From someone who used to work inside the committee's digital records team. They wanted this to come out, but they were too afraid to do it themselves." She pushed it forward. "They said it was something you needed to see." Denzel opened the envelope carefully. Inside was a flash drive and a printed summary. As he read, his eyes darkened. "Operation Quiet Script," he whispered. Double quote. Layla leaned in. Denzel kept reading. His voice tightened. "It's real. It's not just censorship. It's a coordinated system. a pipeline. Internal documents show they were feeding suggested narratives directly to daytime talk shows, entertainment outlets, even social influencers. The email they leaked wasn't found by accident, it was targeted. Layla blinked. You're saying Joy didn't just stumble across your email? No, Denzel said. They gave it to her, they planted it. And they timed it. The storm outside got louder. So did the truth inside. 3 hours later, an encrypted video upload goes live. A title: Operation Quiet Script, the media. Manipulation file they never wanted you to see. It wasn't flashy. No music, no edits. Just Layla's voice narrating over screenshots. Redacted memos, cross-referenced media appearances. It wasn't opinion. It was documentation. Evidence. Proof. The email Denzel wrote was only one of hundreds flagged by a special subcommittee tasked with monitoring narrative volatility. Key terms like celebrity influence, public trust searing, and containment through entertainment repeated in different forms. And at the center of one cluster, a redacted name with one word left visible: Behar. The internet lit up instantly. Forums exploded. Reaction videos raged. Even major anchors couldn't ignore it anymore. Silence turned into chaos. At a national news studio, a senior producer slammed her fist on the desk. How the hell did this leak? An assistant stuttered. We think the Washington file was copied off-site last year. We didn't know Denzel had connections to Dudent, the producer snapped. He just cared more than we thought. Joy Behar was quiet that morning. She didn't appear on The View. No press release. No explanation. Just a vacant chair and a panel of hosts, reading from neutral cue cards. But people noticed. One day turned into 3. Rumors swirled. Internal review. Health reasons. Scheduling conflict. But the truth was simpler. She was scared, not of Denzel, but of what else he might reveal. Denzel and Layla sat in a small podcast studio in Brooklyn. They weren't waiting for news networks anymore. They were becoming the news. I never wanted to destroy anyone, Denzel said into the mic. Not Joy, not the networks, not the senators. But when you weaponize people's trust, when you sell fear dressed as fact, you become the enemy of truth. Layla leaned in. And what now? What do we do with all this? Denzel looked through the soundproof glass at the growing team of volunteers outside, researchers, students, whistleblowers. We don't destroy, he said. We build a platform, a movement, a place where voices that were filtered out can finally be heard. And that's how it started. Not as a rebellion, but as a resistance. Meanwhile, at the Capitol, Senator Callow stormed into a private boardroom. How did it get out? Who leaked the file? An aide answered, trembling. It doesn't matter anymore. Everyone's seen it. It's real. Even our allies are backing off. Callow's voice dropped to a growl. Then we go scorched earth. Drag him down. Dig into everything. I want dirt. I want lawsuits. I want doubt. But sir, the aide said carefully, he's clean. No one's clean, Callow hissed. Find the cracks, and if they don't exist, make them. The smear campaign begins. Old tabloid photos resurface. Baseless rumors. Insinuations. Even old co-stars are pressured to distance themselves. He was difficult on set. He had a temper. Maybe he's lost it. The headlines changed tone again. Denzel Washington, hero or hypocrite, truth teller or master manipulator. When activism turns dangerous, they couldn't disprove the leaked file. So they tried to dismantle the man, but something they didn't expect happened. Single photo went viral. Not taken by a reporter. Not from an interview. Just a blurry phone picture posted by a nurse. It showed Denzel in a hospital hallway, sitting beside an elderly man. No cameras, no attention, just listening. The caption read, "No matter what they say, I saw this man show up when no one else did. If that's fake, I'll take fake any day." From there, something shifted. Quietly, steadily. people stopped listening to the networks. And started listening to each other. In the final scene of the podcast episode, Layla asked Denzel, if they come after you harder, politically, personally, what will you do? Denzel looked directly at the mic. I'll keep telling the truth. He paused, and when they come to silence me again, I won't just read the next email. He leaned in. I'll read the whole file. The sun rose slow over Washington, but the streets were already packed. Cameras lined the courthouse steps. Protesters filled the sidewalks, some holding signs that read, "Let him speak," others yelling accusations. Reporters whispered into microphones. Live broadcasts flickered across phone screens, across the world. Inside the marble courthouse, the air felt colder. Today wasn't a trial. Not officially. But it might as well have been. Denzel Washington had been subpoenaed again. This time not just to answer questions, but to defend his integrity, his reputation, his very presence in political spaces. Joy Behar would be watching. Senator Callow would be present. The networks had prepared their spin, but no one was ready for what Denzel carried in his hand. Small leather case. Inside it, the entire Operation Quiet script file, printed and indexed. Page by page. Not leaked. Not stolen. Declassified. By a judge who had quietly ruled, just hours before, that the public had a right to know. As he walked through the courthouse doors. No sunglasses. No lawyer. Just the case. And a steady heartbeat. Marcus stood near the back, hands folded. Layla stood beside him, wearing a simple shirt that read, "Truth doesn't whisper, it roars." Inside the hearing chamber, a panel of lawmakers sat stiff behind a long bench. Senator Callow led them, his expression unreadable. "Mr. Washington," he said, "you are here under oath. Your recent actions, releasing classified data, alleging systemic narrative manipulation, have stirred public unrest. Do you deny that you have fueled division in this country?" Denzel stood. No notes. No script. Just his voice. "I don't deny it," he said. A murmur ran through the room. "Division doesn't come from truth," Denzel continued. "It comes from the fear of it. And if this country is shaking, it's because the foundation wasn't as strong as we thought. My words didn't crack it, they revealed the cracks." Callow leaned forward. "Do you really believe you, an actor, should have this kind of influence?" "I didn't ask for it," Denzel said. "It came because I didn't run from responsibility when the lights turned off." He opened the leather case. Pulled out the file, held it up for the room to see. "This," he said, "isn't opinion. It's not a conspiracy. It's evidence. It shows how truth was packaged, filtered, and handed to you in pieces, shaped by people who profit when you're confused and divided." He paused. "I didn't leak it." He placed it on the table. "I was given it, legally, by someone inside your system who remembered they work for the people, not just the powerful." The room was silent. Callow was pale. A woman on the panel looked down, ashamed. Someone from the gallery whispered, "He brought the whole thing." Cameras flashed, reporters scribbled, even the media outside, the ones who had buried him for weeks, couldn't look away, because it wasn't just the email now. It was the machine behind. The email. Outside, the crowd shifted. Protesters began chanting, "Read the file. Read the file." Someone climbed the lamppost and held up a printed copy of the leaked summary. Networks scrambled to cover it. Late-night anchors began rewriting their monologues. Podcasts were already recording emergency episodes. A news crawler on live TV read, "Denzel Washington presents full evidence file in court, shocks entire panel." Inside, Callow tried one last tactic. "Mr. Washington, are you accusing this entire government of lying?" Denzel shook his head slowly. "Not all of it, but some of it." He looked up, locking eyes with each panel member, and it only takes a few liars to silence a million honest voices. The judge called for a recess. Reporters rushed outside. Ila held her phone high. "Live streaming." Marcus whispered, "They're going to try to bury this again." Let them try, Denzel replied. This time, they'll have to bury the whole country with it. In the days that followed, story exploded, not as scandal, but as awakening. Citizens began demanding transparency, not from actors, but from elected officials. New bills were proposed. Truth commissions formed. Networks were forced to issue statements, some apologetic, some defensive. Joy Behar issued a statement through a spokesperson. I regret how things unfolded. I never imagined it would go this far. I hope we can all move forward. But it was too late for polished words. America had seen what lay beneath the surface, and they weren't going back. 1 year later, a new platform launched, Truthline, co-founded by Denzel and Laila. No sponsors, no filters, no scripts, just raw stories from everyday people. It grew faster than anyone predicted. In one night, during a livestream anniversary broadcast, someone asked Denzel, if you could go back, would you still read that email on live TV? He smiled. No, he said. Pause. I'd read the whole file.